Good evening and welcome to another edition of Jazz Tales. So glad you could join us on what is turning out to be a very windy and rainy moment here right before. So you might hear some thunder in the beginning here, and not just from the music. So glad you could join us. I'm so happy for our last episode of Jazz Tales to have this wonderful musician with us. And let me tell you a little bit about her. California native Jennifer Krupa is an active trombonist, educator, and composer in the Washington, D.C. area. Jen performs regularly with the Smithsonian Jazz Masterworks Orchestra, Sherrie Maricle, and the DIVA Jazz Orchestra, and her own group, JLQ, with saxophonist Leigh Pilzer. She is also the music director of the U.S. Navy Band Commodores Jazz Ensemble. Jen has performed with Wynton Marsalis and the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra, David Berger Sultan of Swing, the Wycliffe Gordon Quintet Sextet, Joe Lovano, Branford Marsalis, Nancy Wilson, Johnny Mandel, Chris Potter, Bill Watrous, Christian McBride, Eddie Daniels, Arturo Sandoval, and numerous others. She has performed in Asia, Europe, South America, and extensively in North America, and can be heard on recordings by Wycliffe Gordon, Johnny Mandel, Ann Hampton Callaway, Brooks Tegler, and Ava Cassidy, as well as several recordings by the Navy Band Commodores. It's my pleasure to welcome Jen Krupa to this evening's show. Welcome, Jen.
Hi, Fred. How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Oh, so glad you said yes. I mean, you're perfect for what we do with Jazz Alive and the education and kids and all that kind of stuff. So thank you so much for joining us. What are we starting out with?
How about Days of Wine and Roses?
There we go. Welcome, everyone. Thanks again for joining us. Beautiful.
Back at you.
Just like we rehearsed it. Yeah, beautiful. As you know, we say hi to people. And so we've got several folks here. Netta and David up in Montville, New Jersey say hi. Fred and Jen. We're looking forward to tonight's music. Ed Raffel in Washington, D.C. Says, as a longtime SJMO fan, it's a treat to see and hear Jen perform, accompanied by you, Fred.
Yay.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed. And Peter Kaufman down in Louisville, Kentucky says, always so nice to hear some Henry Mancini. Good evening, and thanks, Fred and Jen. There we go.
Excellent, excellent.
Off to a great start. What are we doing next?
How about we do Thelonious Monk's Boulevard Balouzar?
Okay. So I'm curious, is there reason for this tune? I'm always curious about Monk tunes. What brings people to Monk?
When I first heard Monk, I was just entranced by his approach to music and his creativity and his quirkiness. And I was really drawn to it, just the fact that you knew when it was Monk. It sounded like Monk. And I just obsessed about him and watched all sorts of videos of him and his stage presence. And it was, you know, I think the fact that you knew that he could do anything he wanted but chose to be himself.
Right.
Just, he won me over with that.
Oh, man. It's, you know, there's a story that, you know, he would get up and dance on somebody else's set.
Right.
I mean, he'd go to hear the music, and he did that to Miles once. And Miles was like, man, what are you doing?
Right.
And he said, you know, the best compliment you can get from someone is they dance to your music.
Yeah.
They're so moved by your music. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
So great choice. Thanks for that story.
Awesome.
Here we go.
We just took that melody everywhere.
What a great tune. Yeah. Get to this other camera here. Wonderful choice. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, we have some more people that signed in. Sue Ressler, who's a member of our board for Jazz Alive up in Pennsylvania, says, "Hi, Fred. Enjoying this back in PA." That's right. You were down here, so now you're back up there. Jazz trombone and you. Loving it. Yes. Thank you. So good to see you, Sue. Lori and Steve up in Easton, Pennsylvania. Happy to be with you tonight. Thank you so much, folks. What are we doing next, Jen?
How about Jitterbug Waltz?
Ooh, yay. Cool. Fats Waller.
Yeah. I'll let you take it away.
You know, I don't know that I've ever heard a trombone play it.
Oh.
You know, now I think
really?
about it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't know that I've ever, you know, with the different trombone players I've played with over the years, I've never, great choice.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. We have some another person that signed in. Oh, Edie, so good to see you. Thank you so much for signing in. Hi, Fred. Greetings from North Carolina. Jim would be so happy with the growth of this programming and tonight's wonderful talent. I'm grateful to be able to join you all. Edie, so good to see you. Thank you so much. We miss Jim every day. Jim was one of our founding members who we just lost recently. So.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So those of you that are with us know that I ask this same question of every artist that comes through here. And it ties in with our mission of Jazz Alive and bringing this music to our young folks. And I think it's important that young folks, especially the ones that are fortunate enough to be watching, either because of a grant or because of a wonderful sponsorship by someone, I always like to ask so that they, you know, if they're on the fence about music and all of that, is what is that one thing or several things that made you go, I'm going to be a musician and I'm going to be a jazz musician?
Huh. Well, it's, I think this, the beginning of my obsession with music began early on, and we had a piano in the house. My mom would play, and my sisters, I had two older sisters who both started playing in band in elementary school. And I remember when they wouldn't be in the house, I would go into their room, and I'm going to get in trouble for this when they see me, but I would go into their room and take out their instruments. One played clarinet, one played saxophone, and I would, you know, just play everything I could as, you know, before they got home, and then make sure I put it back in there. I remember when I got to 4th grade, and my mom came and asked me, do you want to play, do you think you want to play in band? And I was appalled. I was like, I was so offended. I'm like, do I want to? I mean, I've been waiting for this day, like, you know, since kindergarten, when the music teacher would wheel her cart of sticks and tambourines and everything into the room. I was like, she's here for me. This is my time. Like, you know, I was just, that's how I viewed music. So we went to the music store, and I said, I want to play trombone. My mom was like, you do? and I had always wanted to play it. I don't know why. I don't know what I heard or when I heard it, but that was what my connection. And sure enough, they deemed me too small and a not appropriate instrument for a girl. So they tried to get me to play flute or clarinet, and I said, I don't want that. I want trombone. So we made a compromise, and I started on trumpet, and then eventually I had some great band directors that lent me their trombones and said, come after school, just play whatever you want, and then I switched to trombone and continued. So, you know, there was this love of music. I just couldn't wait to participate in any of the band or jazz band or any of those classes. I ended up going to school in North Florida and on a jazz scholarship, and you know, I was so inspired by all the people around me. But I had a part-time job at a store where I worked in the cash office. I worked in the accounting, and I counted hundreds of thousands of dollars every day, and I did accounting, and I really enjoyed that. It was a great part-time job through college. The gigs were slow. They would give me more hours, and one day I had a manager, regional manager, come in and say, hey, what would you think if we sent you to China to train employees over there? And I was like, that would be amazing. And I thought it was just a hypothetical question, like just asking a random person. Like an hour later, my boss came in and said, all right, you go get your shots, your passport, you're going to China. And I moved to China for a year. And I lived in mainland China. I taught accounting and business office practices, and I would take the train once a week into Hong Kong. It was like an hour-and-a-half ride. I would take it to Hong Kong with my horn, go to jam sessions, and I'd go back. I had my practice mute, and you know, I did this for like a year, and I got to this point where I was just like, I need music. This is not enough. I can't, like, just playing by myself in the apartment's not enough. And I called a friend back home, and I said, I need an excuse. Give me a gig, you know. And he's like, hey, Diane Scher's coming to play at this festival. Do you want to be in the band? Yes, I do. And so I went in and I gave my notice. I'm like, okay, I can't stay anymore. I'm going home. And it was just that moment where I was like, I cannot exist without music being a part of my life all the time. Like, it's not enough to just do it when it's convenient. Like, that's all I thought about. That's what I needed to do.
Right.
So that was like the key turning point. Like I could have made a lot of money. And continued on that route, but I was like, nope, this is my passion. So
That's a great story. Yeah. No, I didn't
it's kind
know.
of random, right?
Yeah,
I
no.
don't tell
Yeah,
people
I
that
would've never,
very often.
I would have never thought. Wow.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, I think that's, it's kind of what we were talking about earlier about, that passion of everything that we do, and that just solidified it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
I was in the same kind of boat when it came to writing jingles. That was when I decided this was not the part of the music business I wanted to be in.
Right.
Yeah.
And it makes a difference. You're like, okay, I can be successful and do this, but is that enough?
Right.
Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to hear where we're going to go next.
Ah,
But before we do, we need to thank one of our sponsor for this evening's show. We'd like to thank Janet and Lou Russo up in Nutley, New Jersey, who sponsored tonight's episode of Jazz Tales. Thank you so much to Janet and Lou for doing that. Next, where are we going next?
let's, since they didn't want me to play the trombone, let's go with Boy Meets Horn.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's a great tune.
Little Duke Ellington.
Yes, Duke Ellington. All right, let me get to the right cameras again. That's a great tune, you know? And it's even better if I would read it correctly. Thank you so much for
welcome.
just going with the flow, you know? I totally missed the DS. And then I'm like, wait a minute, that's that same.
That's all good. We got there.
It's the way I wanted to play it.
Yeah.
What are we doing next?
How about we do what are the originals? I gotta remember the names of them. Boys Bossa.
Okay. Is there a story behind this one?
Well, I wrote this one when I was when I had just had my first son. I have 3 sons. I had just had my first son, and I wrote this for him, and I was like, so the boy's bossa, boy apostrophe S, his bossa. And as I was finishing writing it, I found out that I was pregnant with another boy. And I didn't have the energy to write another song, so I moved the apostrophe to after the S, the boys, both of the boys, bossa. And then I had another boy, so it just worked out. We just kept it with that.
There you go. All right.
Do you have the first 6 bars?
Sure.
All right, yeah. That's all you? Oh, sorry. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
That's a great, 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 great tune. Wow, thank you so much. Yeah. What would you like to do next?
Let's go with the waltz that I wrote around the same time, GJ Waltz.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Just saying the waltz. Don't you know what that is?
Yeah.
And this is actually, this was kind of an assignment challenge by Jim McFalls, who I know has played on this show as well. And he and I took lessons from him while I was working on my master's at University of Maryland. And he would always, he's like, you're not taking lessons, we're just playing. I was like, no, I'm taking lessons. No, we're not. So we went back and forth, but we had some of the, like, just an absolute blast. Like, he challenged me all the time. We just played all the time together. And one of the things he said was like, why don't you write a song, for a trombonist that you really admire? And I was like, okay, well, Frank Rosolino. I love Frank Rosolino, and I love his composition Blue Daniel, which is an odd form waltz. And so I wrote this, and when I first named it, I called it Green Jim instead of Blue Daniel, and Jim didn't like the title, so I just named it GJ Waltz for Green Jim.
Right. Very, very cool. Great story. Thank you. Yeah, no, thanks for bringing these in. Like I was telling you earlier, I've had so much fun with all of this, learning all this new stuff. Yeah, it's great. Before we get into our next section, I want to thank one more time our sponsor for this evening's episode of Jazz Tales, Janet and Lou Russo up in Nutley, New Jersey. Thank you so much for sponsoring this evening's program. We really appreciate it. So, next, I was going to go with mentors, and we were talking about all kinds of other stuff. I mean, if you wanted to go in a different direction, I'm cool with that. But I always do like to know, is there like one person in particular that really got you?
Yeah, I think I can safely say Wycliffe Gordon. He was a mixture of things. I first heard him when he joined Wynton's septet, and I was in school in Florida, and it was one of those moments where I was studying J.J. Johnson and Frank Rosolino and Jack Teagarden, and just as many people as I could, but there was something missing. There was a certain live aspect of I'm not sure how to say it. I guess rawness, maybe. But I heard him play, and he was just so full of life and so spirited in his playing, and played the trombone kind of like I would expect the trombone to be played. Used the slide for all it's worth. Used plunger. Used effects, and he just inspired me so much. And fast forward, after I went to China and came back, I ended up moving to New York City. And when I first got there, the first week or two, he was playing at the Village Vanguard for the whole week, and I went like as many nights as I could. Kind of spent my first 2 months' rent by going there. But I went there and I asked him if he would consider giving me a lesson sometime. And he's like, sure, come up to my brownstone in Harlem on Saturday around 11 o'clock. It's like, okay, all right, yes, I'm there. So I go there, and I ended up playing. He played piano. He had asked me to play a song. Then he would play piano and have me sing. Then he would basically he was testing me, though I didn't know. I was just, he was just throwing stuff at me. After 6 hours of him just throwing stuff at me, he said, all right, so what are you doing Tuesday at 11 a.m.? And I'm like, nothing. He goes, okay, can you set for me with Wynton's band? And I'm like, whoa. Yes, I can, and from there he introduced me to cats on the scene and made sure that I was taken care of, and he was my big brother, my protector, and he was always kept it real. If I wasn't making the changes, if I wasn't hanging, he'd be like, you need to go back and check. Yeah, okay, I got to go check that out. So he was just that person who I was inspired by his playing, by his compositions. He's a good person, and he just, he saw that I had a fire and similar passion, and he took me under his wing, and he's amazing.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Wow. I find out all this stuff about you. I had no idea. So where did the Navy, how did that happen?
That happened after, it happened kind of funny. Well, so one of the things I ended up subbing in Jazz at Lincoln Center, and we went on a tour to Europe and to Spain. And while, and actually, remind me to come back to that, because there's something about Ellis Marsalis that I want to say. Yeah. But I'd come back, and I was I felt like I was in the circles that I wanted to be. I was playing, doing the stuff, and I found out that there was an opening in the Commodores in D.C. and I had a couple of friends tell me, and I was like, no, I'm good. I'm doing what I want to do. This is great. And eventually, Leigh Pilzer, who's been on here, and some other friends, they were like, no, just take the audition. It's a great band, and it sold me on just getting down here to take the audition. And once I did, the band was swinging, sounded great, and I remember I was still kind of well, I don't know, maybe I should stay in New York. And I went to Wycliffe, and he's just like, okay, does the band sound good? I'm like, yeah. He goes, does it pay? I'm like, yeah. He's like, why are you asking me if you should do this? And I was like, well, okay. He goes, try it, do it. If you don't like it, you don't have to stay forever, right? I'm like, no, I don't. He's like, okay. Well, and so, I did it, and here, 17 years later, I'm here, and yeah, it's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Wow.
Yeah.
I was, I knew some of your story, and when you were talking about it, I'm like, so well, how did the Navy come into this?
Right,
I mean, if you're doing all that stuff, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it was one of the things, so on I think it was on that tour, Ellis Marsalis came out, Wynton's dad, who unfortunately passed away this past year. He actually, two of Wynton's sons were there, and so he kind of came out to spend some time with his grandsons as well. And I went and took a couple walks with him around the city, and he was just talking, and some of his advice that, similar to what we were talking about earlier, he's like, if you love this music, this is part of you, this is you, and you need to like address that every day. He's like, you need to, in some way or fashion, you need to be like doing music, whether it's playing, singing, thinking about it, writing, like that's just a given. And it just, it's like similar to Duke Ellington writing every day, like no matter what, you're
right.
gonna get up and write stuff. But it's just that process, but also it like, during this whole time of COVID, like not playing with other people, that was like the hardest thing, like I wouldn't want to play my trombone because it wasn't the same, like not playing with people, but we found ways to connect online. We found ways like, watch your program and see like, oh, look, there's musicians connecting, like, and thankfully we're coming to the other side of it, but that connection and that part of you is just really important. That's
great stories and great advice. Yes, like, I agree. I mean, as I told everybody on the 22nd of March when I started this, I was like, I don't know where this is gonna go, but I have to play. Mm-hmm. I don't know anything else about it. And, thanks to a bunch of folks that are on with us tonight that, we really kind of took advantage of this chat board thing and really talked, people would ask questions, and it just became, at least I felt some connection to the whole thing. But piano's a little different than just playing solo trombone.
Right,
Although
right.
I would have watched it if you would have. I mean,
thanks.
I was like, yeah, because I'm intrigued by all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's great stories again. Thank you so much. So I guess since you talked about Ellis, we'll play the Ellis tune.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sounds
it's a
good.
great tune. Swinging at the Haven. Sue Ressler says, we're loving Jen's playing. Such
Aww.
Awesome rhythm. Great show. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
And Mike. Sue and Mike.
Do a little intro.
That was beautiful. You do the plunger thing so well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously Wycliffe really,
yeah,
You know, it's that whole talking through the instrument, and that's what it seems like to me. Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Thanks. That's good.
Yeah. Well, we're going to thank some more people here. Before we do the last interview segment, we're going to thank the following individuals who sponsored. Nick Blosen up in Nutley, New Jersey, who plays trombone. He's a member of the Nutley High School Jazz Ensemble, Wind Ensemble Marching Band. Thank you so much to Netta and David up in Montville, New Jersey for sponsoring Nick. Excellent. And next, we have a student from up in Joppa, Maryland, Caden Lyman, who plays trombone. Caden is a very talented musician and jazz trombonist in the Boys Latin Jazz Ensemble. He came to Boys Latin as a new 9th grader and has just taken on a whole new love for music, jazz, improvisation, and is a solid lead trombone player. I like hearing that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And we'd like to thank John Zontek, that was pictured there with his grandson Phoenix. So thank you so much, John. Next we have not only sponsoring the episode tonight, but also another student up in Nutley, New Jersey, Alan Masters, who plays trombone and is a member of the John H. Walker Middle School Symphonic Band, Jazz Ensemble Orchestra, and the Nutley High School Marching Band. Thank you, Janet and Lou. And next, we'd like to thank Sherrie and John Zimmerman up in Mechanicsburg, who helped sponsor, along with several other folks, as we've gone along through here, the last 4 episodes of Jazz Tales for Donna Ewing and her middle school band here in Easton, Maryland. Donna's also one of our board members, so I was really happy to see that too. Thank you, Sherrie and John at Mechanicsburg. And we'd like to thank the Talbot County Arts Council for sponsoring all 25 episodes of Jazz Tales, Mr. E.J. Osterly and his band at Easton High School. Thank you so much to Joan over there at the Arts Council for making that happen. All 25 episodes. It would really help watch, the episodes and get a chance for the kids to see, how we all do this.
That's
kids.
amazing.
I should stop saying kids. I know that's not,
The
that's not
youngins?
what that is.
Maybe
Yes,
that's not so good either.
The young folks. Laurie says, nicely done. Thank you, Laurie and Steve up in Easton. So I would like, is there you've got so many different bands you've played with. Is there like one road story that kind of sticks out that you kind of go, yeah?
Wow.
I know I'm putting you on the spot there.
Yeah,
Sorry about
I'm
that.
like,
Is it a teachable moment or funny? I like funny as well, but yeah.
Okay, so one of the bands I play with is DIVA Jazz Orchestra. It's an all-female jazz orchestra, 15 amazing, ridiculous women, and Sherrie Maricle leads it. And it's an unusual. It's not unusual anymore to us because the band is 27 years old now. So we just released a few years ago. We released our 25th anniversary where everyone composed songs for it, and it's just fabulous. It's so awesome to hear what everyone writes. But most women jazz musicians are used to being one of the only women in an ensemble, and so it was when you get all these women together, you take away that any feeling of like I'm the special one or I'm different than everyone. It's all about camaraderie and the music, and we're going out there. So we're out in the Midwest playing somewhere. And it's a packed house, just a wonderfully receptive audience. And one of the band members, her aunt was there at the concert. And when there was intermission, she went into the bathroom and she heard these 2 elderly women saying, "Oh, that band just sounds wonderful, don't they? They sound great. I think some of them might even be women up there." My favorite.
That is great. That tops mine. When an old folks walked into one of the festivals I was playing, and we hadn't even played a note, and they said, "They even look loud."
I know, that's the best.
That one takes it. That's a great story. Wow. Any quick words of advice to our students that are watching?
I think don't be afraid to be yourself. Don't be afraid to express yourself, and don't be afraid to ask questions. That's like the biggest thing. I learned that lesson by just asking Wycliffe Gordon, "Hey, do you think you could?" "Yes, I can. I can give you a lesson here. I'm going to give you advice. I'm going to do this." People who spend their lives pursuing their passion want to pass that information along. They want others to join them that are interested. And even if someone's not interested in pursuing it as a career, they want people who are interested in knowing more and hearing more. And, I have not met it. Well, there's one musician for a story afterwards who didn't really want to share information, a jazz legend who was having a night. He didn't want to share information. But everyone else that I've gone to has, I've got up and like Jimmy Heath, Benny Golson, like it's just, I've asked them questions. "I love this, what about this?" And, "Oh, well, funny you should say, this is what I'm working on now," or "Check this out." Like I mean, ridiculous that you could go up to these jazz legends and ask a question, but they're people too, and they have spent a lifetime learning this music, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's a conversation, it's a language that you develop, and so the more you can speak it, and the more you can learn from people who are more advanced than you, the better you're going to be able to express yourself.
Amen.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Yeah. You know, it's interesting when you said that, is I read something by Benny Green today when he was talking about studying with Jackie Byron.
Yeah.
And he went there and he was just, you know, the chance to study with him. And he said, the minute I walked in, I could tell he didn't want me, but, you know, he had to be teaching. And he said, at that moment, I realized that just by the look in his eyes that he was tired of people coming over and taking lessons from him. And he wasn't getting the credit that, I mean, Jackie Byron, he's great piano player. And interesting, to Benny's credit, he realized that and then turned the lesson into just hearing all these wonderful stories. And Jackie was like, he came out of his shell and was happy to be there. Yeah. So you never know.
Yeah, and those stories, you know, like instead of just being like, what do you play over a sus, you know, instead of that, but like, you know, asking them something. I mean, you know, people don't, you don't know what you don't know, and people, you don't know how much accolades or how much people have received positive feedback. Even like you think they know it because they're amazing. How would you not know that? But you know, people like to hear that. I really enjoyed that. Yeah. You really, you know, your music really touched me. That's, you know,
No, well said. Thank you so much. Well, we could go on. This has been so much fun. I'm so glad that you said yes.
Me too.
Yeah. So I'm gonna. Before we play one more number, we got a big announcement tonight.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yes. Yes. I know we talked about it last time, folks. So here it is. We're now moving out. Jazz Tales will come back in a different setting than what we are doing now. But we're ready to go out into the community. And since Jazz Alive is based here in Talbot County, just where I started the whole thing, we're going to start here. But you know, the plan is to be up and down the Delmarva Peninsula. And if you haven't had a chance to go to the website and look at what we're going to start in the fall with the Delmarva Youth Jazz Orchestra, we hope you do that. But here we go. We're going to do a 3-part concert series. We're calling it a summer concert series because it's July 24th and August 21st and September 18th, so it still falls in that realm. So we're calling it a summer concert series, and it's going to be at the beautiful, historic Easton Waterfowl Building, 40 South Harrison Street. Those of you that are familiar with the area know that it was originally in 1927. It was a armory. And now it's been the home for a long time of the Waterfowl Festival, hence it's called the Waterfowl Building. So we're very happy to be setting the building up as a club-like setting. So there'll be tables, chairs, cash bar, hors d'oeuvres, all of that. So we're hope that you'll mark your calendars and be there. Website goes live tonight at as soon as we get done with this. I'll publish it, so it'll be about 8:30. So you can buy tickets and get going. But our first show is with the Hot Club of Baltimore on the 24th of July. Next, on the 21st of August, we have great guitars, the DC edition. Nice. Those of you that have known Steve Apshar from being on this show, well, Steve was actually a member of the original Great Guitars. He subbed for Herb Ellis one time, and that was originally Barney Kessel, Herb Ellis, and Charlie Bird. But now we've got a DC version of it, so we hope that you'll check that out. And then for the final concert in September, we have the great Hendrik Merkens with Paul Ballenbach on guitar and Paul Langash on bass. If you've not heard Hendrik, you need to check him out. He's just an absolute beast on the harmonica. He's the next thing. And you'll see if you go to the website tonight or as you get a chance over the weekend, and read some of the accolades that he's had. A lot of people say he's the next carnation, I guess, or incarnate, or whatever the word would be, of Toots Thielman, and he sounds a lot like it, but he's got his own voice. So there you go. Those are the 3 concerts. We hope that you'll come over to Easton and be with us. Website goes live tonight. You can get all the tickets you want, and I hope that you'll check it out, tell your friends about it, all of that. Ed says, your experience with other jazz musicians is what I love about this music as a fan. Every jazz musician I've ever met has been so appreciative and appreciable I'm sorry, approachable, eyes, glasses, approachable and appreciative of my interest. Yes, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not necessarily that it's about, like Jen said, about, well, it is, we like to be here but the fact that you take the time and want to hear about us and our stories. So thank you, Ed, and everybody here. I mean, that's kind of the core group here has been like that the entire time that we've been doing this. So it's really great. What are we going to close with?
I think it's only appropriate that we have all had to play alone for so long, and now we get to play together. So we are going to play alone together.
Good choice. Good choice. That was so much fun. Thank you. Like I said, we could go on forever,
I know.
but unfortunately we're at the end of the road. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
Folks, thank you so much. It's been a great 25 episodes, and I know there's a bunch of you that have been here for all 25, and we thank you so much. Again, I hope that you'll come over and be with us here in Easton. Go to the website. If you're not on our mailing list, make sure you sign up for it, and we'll see you soon. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.